top of the morning, and it is a beaut.
And the hope of the Irish as the future champion of the world.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio.
Here's Barry J. McDonald and the RightCom.com podcast.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from RightCom.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled, What Are You in Control of? Now, if you're a regular listener to this podcast, you're probably saying, what the hell was that? Where did that intro come from? Well, I'll tell you, the reason I changed the intro to this podcast is for the same subject matter of this podcast episode. Because for the longest time, I've been meaning to change it. I got it done a long time ago by a lady on Fiverr, and there is just kind of that background music. There's a couple of notes in it that just kind of really grated me, and I don't know if that was helping me with my listeners, or maybe it was just pushing people away. Maybe when they listened to the first couple of seconds of the intro, it just kind of turned them off. So I just said, what the hell, let's just get rid of it and let's just create something new. So I hope you liked maybe the intro. You can let me know in the comments if you do. But anyway, going back to the subject of this podcast episode, being in control. Now, the reason I'm talking about this in today's podcast episode is because of something I seen on social media. Now, I was just kind of doing an aimless or mindless kind of scroll through TikTok this morning, and I came upon a video by the great author Ryan Holiday. Now, if you don't know who Ryan Holiday is, I highly recommend you go over to Amazon and do a search on him, because he's a lot of great books on things like your ego, and he writes a lot of material on the Stoics and the old kind of Greek teachings, and how, you know, following the rules and the lifestyle the Stoics had is probably going to bring you more happiness. Now, what he was talking about in that video on TikTok was that, you know, even though he has written 10 books, he never started off thinking that he would ever be a best-selling author. He never even thought that he could actually write a book. What he said was he just kind of followed a process. He got up every day, he wrote a certain amount of words. Some days those words were good, some days they were bad, some days maybe he deleted them, maybe he needed to edit them. But he just followed that process day after day after day, and then one book turned into two, and eventually he's at the point now where he's written 10 books. Now, what he said was that when he released the books onto whatever platform he was selling them on, that was his happy moment. That was his little happy dance, you know, because he could control everything on the way to creating the book. He could control the ideas, what words he put into it. He could probably control the book cover, all those different things. But when he hit publish on it, it was out of his control. You know, he couldn't control what people thought of that book. He couldn't control the people who might leave negative reviews. He couldn't control if people read that book or not. He couldn't control if that book was going to be a bestseller or not. All of that was out of his hands. And a lot of us, unfortunately, do sometimes, you know, pin our happiness to a feeling that we can control everything. You know, even this podcast episode here, there's only a few things I can control in this episode. I can control the intro music, the outro music. I can control the content between those. But other than that, there's not really much I can do. I just hit publish, I put it out there. If people listen to it, brilliant. If people don't listen to it, well, there's nothing really I can do about it. And, you know, I can't force anybody to listen to this podcast. I can't force anybody to share the podcast. All I can do is just do my best, you know, record an episode here where I'm happy that maybe I've explained something or that I might help somebody. But I just hit publish knowing that I can do the best I can right now in this podcast episode, and then I have to leave it up to you. If you feel like listening to it, listen to it. If you feel like sharing it, share it. But all those things are out of my control. And maybe right now you are pinning a lot of your happiness on things that you can't control. You know, maybe you are trying to maybe create some type of video on social media or a blog post, and you're hoping that piece of content goes viral. You know, maybe you've copied someone else's blueprint and you are hoping that the exact same thing is going to happen to you. But you can't guarantee it. All you can guarantee is that you write a great blog post or you record a good video, and then you need to put it out there. You know, maybe that video that went viral pearl landed at the right time. Maybe the first person that saw it was the right person to see it because they were the person that showed it and shared it, and the snowball kind of went from there. So as Ryan said, when he wrote those books, there was only really one thing that he could control, and that was his happiness, that he wrote the best book that he could, and then once he hit publish, there was nothing really else he could guarantee after that. He couldn't guarantee any great book royalties. He couldn't guarantee if it become a bestseller. When you think about it, the reason a book becomes a bestseller is not because an author can actually force it to become a bestseller. It's up to the audience to buy it, to share that book with other people, and word of mouth will make that book become a bestseller. So maybe that's something to think about today. What can you actually control in your business? And you'll probably find there's not too many things you can actually do. The only thing we can control is to do a good job, to create good content, that when we hit publish and when we just switch off the recorder, when we, release a product or whatever, we're happy that we did the best thing that we could do. But after that, it's out of our control. It's up to the audience, the listeners, the readers to make up the mind if it is worth sharing, or if it can become a bestseller, or if we, if it's going to be as good as we think it is. So think about that today. What are you really in control of? And maybe just look back on yourself and just kind of say to yourself, well, maybe I should make work that is making me happy, because this is the only thing that is within my power to control, is my happiness, knowing that I'm doing the best I can, recording the best content I can, and then everything else is out of my control. So as I said, I hope you enjoyed the intro. I may change it another time in the future, but let's see how we get on with it. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the WriteCome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.